Hi everyone, this is Bobby from bn-games.com, and I wanted to do a disclaimer for this video. Originally I wanted this to be the definitive how-to guide to modifying the Agetec Dreamcast stick. Unfortunately, we had to deviate a bit due to resources and problems. The things I need to make clear about this mod: you need to be good with tools, you need to be familiar with wiring and soldering, and in some instances you need to be creative to work around making mods to this stick. The parts that were put in are not originally designed to fit into this particular stick, so you know, we had to work along the way. I also want to make mention I did make some mistakes. In the beginning of the video I referred to it as an ASCII stick. That was a mistake on my part. It's actually an Agetec stick. And it looks like the buttons are micro switches. Originally in my research, someone, well, a couple places said they weren't, but they look like micro switches, the original buttons anyway. But that doesn't really matter. Anyway, like I said, just a disclaimer, there were some issues and we had to go into this and really be creative, and you'll see that along the video. Wiring diagrams will be provided in the description, and if you have any questions, put them below. We'll help you as best as possible. Please subscribe and let me know what you think. On to the video. Hi everyone, this is Bobby from bn-games.com, and we are here doing a how-to video, how to mod the Sega Dreamcast ASCII stick. I got this off of eBay pretty cheap. It has a micro switch joystick. That's okay, but it's kind of loose. But the buttons, they suck, and they're not micro switch. And this is a popular model. This is the HKT-7300. We're going to put in a full proper Sanwa stick, 8-way with octagonal gate and Sanwa buttons. It's going to work with the Dreamcast, so I can continue to use the VMU in that. There are a couple videos on YouTube that we've seen, but none of them really are going to be as extensive as what we're going to do here. So we're going to get started, and here we go. Okay, so we're here going to show you the things that you will need if you're going to do this yourself. Obviously, you need the ASCII Dreamcast stick. You will need a pair of wire stripper cutters. You can have separate ones, but this is an all-in-one solution. You will need a Dremel. If you're asking why, it's because the buttons on here are actually not the same as standard sizes. Right here we have the parts. I have a clear ball top with the octagonal gate for the gateway, all the wiring, 30mm Sanwa buttons. Those are, from what I understand, from what I've read, they're not the exact same size, so that's what the Dremel is going to be for. We're gonna open it up a little bit. You could probably use something else, but a Dremel is probably the easiest way to get this done. Soldering iron, that one's brand new. We had another one, but have a new one. And the replacement stick, 8-way stick. This already has a square gate on it, but we're going to be replacing it in there. So next step is disassembly. Okay, so after a little bit of struggle, we got the piece off. It wasn't easy. Since we're not going to be using this stick again,
actually it's not broken.
It's not broken, but we're not going to be using it, so we kind of had to force it off.
For sale.
And, okay, here we go. Okay, so we've now removed the stick completely. You will need to keep this because we're going to be using the original wiring harness to splice in the other stick. And right now we're going to unscrew the top and get the buttons out. Want to include that we are using a special socket set. For the front screws we're using a security bit.
It says that on the side there.
Yeah, it's a T10 security bit.
T10 security bit to take off the front gray panel. Also keep in mind, you're not removing the wires from
The start button.
Start button or anywhere yet, but the start button specifically will remain. Okay, just a quick mention, we pull these off of all the buttons. Is held by a little bit of glue, but for the start button, which exists on the top, you want to leave those plugged in. You do not want to unplug that for this mod, unless you have a replacement. Okay, so here's the old green button. You can see here in the back, it does kind of have look like a micro switch, but it actually isn't. You'll also notice how shallow it is. This is a proper Sanwa 30 millimeter button. This is one of the replacements, orange micro switches. So if you sit them next to each other, you can definitely tell that one is taller than the other, but there's enough room for this. The other thing is, even though they look almost identical, side by side, this one is actually smaller by about 1 millimeter. So that's why we're going to need to take the Dremel on this metal plate to get it to fit in there. You'll see at the bottom it doesn't quite fit. So that's what the Dremel is going to be used for this metal plate. I didn't realize it was metal.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to Dremel the holes, as we said, a little larger. On the Dremel we have a metal grinding tip, as you can see here. It's a smaller one, and Timmy is going to measure it. Well, he's going to grind it a bit and then put the button in to see if it fits. It's going to be a process of testing.
Trial and error.
Yeah. So here we go. Alright, so ground it down enough. Based on his based on what he's done, you have to grind it down to the tabs. And now it's in, as you can see.
Gonna push it the rest of the way in after.
Yeah. Okay, the grinding is done. It took a little while, what, maybe 30 minutes?
Something like that.
And now we're going to put the buttons in to make sure they all fit through the metal. I've already tested on the plastic itself, and they'll fit through the pre-defined plastic mold. And yeah.
Also note, Marco, what's the thing? For the bit. What's the bit called?
It's a grinding.
No, give me the number.
Oh, it is a 932.
Yeah, I recommend the 932 bit for this. We tried one of the others on the first button. It worked pretty well, but this one tends to be a little easier to use, and that.
Show the model we're using. It's a Dremel 3000. So
lower.
yeah, any grinding bit that's like that should do fine.
Yeah, I will note though that this just these 6 buttons have eaten into the bit, so you may, if you're buying just a separate bit, you may have to get a new one afterwards. So just a quick note on that.
Okay, so the buttons are in after much grinding. Timmy, how much do you think we ground off?
I want to say 1.5 to 2 millimeters. You have to go to the tab, if not a little past it. And I will note, especially since we had to grind a little more after, that if the holes aren't wide enough, it can choke the button.
These won't press down right.
Yeah, it'll literally it could get stuck on its down position. So, or it'll spring up on a couple things, or you might have to pinch it from the back and it'll spring up, but it will kind of choke it where you'll get it'll be real down So yeah, you definitely want to make sure that it's round enough. So when you put it in, make sure you test it, like, you know, maybe even push it like 60 times, just to be sure that it's gonna, you know, your springs aren't being choked by the metal plate. Okay, so here we have the Sanwa stick. What we're gonna do is unhook this by pushing in the tabs. I already took it off, so.
And I'm also going to be putting the octagonal gate into here in the center.
Yeah. The one thing about these is you got to make sure you kind of push them all at the same time. It does tend to like to hook onto one end, and if you do that, if you kind of force it, it's real easy to break the tabs off. So just be sure to try and get it up all together, and then the actual mechanism part comes out, slides just right there. So just try not to zap that. Next, there's 4 screws all around the top, which we're going to take those out right now, because this is an unneeded part.
Alright everyone, it's day 2. We had to stop because it was, what, 2 hours?
3 a.m.
3 hours of work. I regrinded it as we discussed. Now we're going to move to assembly. Partially, we're going to be figuring out where the posts, what's going to get grounded off in the case, which are going to be these 4 pieces, and then fitting and screwing. You will need a drill for that. So, there you go. The battery's charged.
Yeah.
Okay, so Timmy's now ground down the poles that were originally in here, so it's pretty much flat. Go ahead and give me the piece so I can show it. And this is just going to basically fit in there. We have to cut the tabs off of the sides. I believe these parts, right?
Actually, I was gonna notch into the plastic.
Oh, okay. So instead of cutting off, we've seen different methods. He's gonna notch into the plastic so it fits into place.
Yeah, so it fits into place, and I believe it'll be a lot more stable that way.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll show you what that looks like after he does it.
Yeah. Also, quick note on a couple of things here. For the router on the plastic, you're gonna want to use, probably like we did, it's a wooden bit. It's like sandpaper. Goes through real easy. Best way to do it's like in small sweeping motions. It'll kind of clump up into little balls like this.
Yay, plastic balls.
Yeah, and it'll be hot. It'll be hot where it melts, so you can pull them right off, but not burn your fingers.
First agreement.
Yeah, I'll say if you burn your fingers, it's not my fault. But from my, it's either that or, you know, I got no feeling left in my fingers.
You heard it here first, folks. Timmy wants you to touch hot plastic. It's not that hot. Stop being a bitch.
Marco, you're first.
Oh, but I'm a huge bitch.
Yes, I know this. Alright, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to drill the holes for the stick. Easiest method to do this is just standard Sharpie. Place it in, you can hold it through here, give it the pressure, and then just straight right down the hole, maybe twist it a little bit, and then you'll get your marks.
This you're going to actually have to drill with a small bit to match the screws that were originally in there. So you're going to be using the original mounting screws from the original stick.
Yay!
Okay, so we ran into a problem. We didn't realize that the original bolts were not going to work. So at this point, we're actually, after drilling, this is a 1/8.
I believe it's a wood bit.
Wood bit, and we're going to be screwing it in with these, which fit in the hole. They're about that size.
They're a little bigger. They also have their own like little mini washer attached to the head. Maybe about a 1/4 inch, I think, long.
And they will drill. They'll hold into the plastic. We'll probably eventually replace these later with a washer and screw tight, but for now, just to get it up and running, we're just going to use these.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's going to be just this way.
Okay, so Timmy's now screwed it in with these bolts. Like I said, you might find a solution that's better for you. In this particular scenario, it's actually worked really well. You see where Timmy cut away from the walls. We didn't want to cut these off, and it's in and it's secure.
Add a little more stability from side to side.
And as you can see, here's the nut ends. No one's going to see this because you have the metal plate that goes over this. And we're going to put, where's the washer?
Oh,
Just give me the extra so I can show them. And then we're going to put this dust washer right here. And then the other one will go on top with the plate. So, next step. Alright everyone, here's another part of the mod. This is going to be unorthodox. The stick is very light, and I didn't want to put a bunch of lead weights in it. There's really nowhere to mount them. So what we're going to try is adding some Play-Doh.
Just gonna fucking shove it in there.
You can also wrap the dough around the lead and put it in there. That will mount it.
That's a good point, but you know, it's an experiment.
Fun experiment.
Cricket.
Fuck you guys.
Disclaimer, if you're using Play-Doh, I mean, it does work, as you can see. Timmy made it into one, but don't put it in around anyone named Marco.
It's fun! It's so educational.
Don't eat it.
Well, you can eat it. It's not toxic.
Don't eat it. Alright, so you may think we're crazy. It actually does significantly add a amount of weight.
It's a full pound. It's 4 4-ounce
tubes. And we know that these may dry out, but hopefully we're going to put a plastic seal, and hopefully they'll stay in place. I mean, how long have you had them in those tubs?
A year.
Okay.
And again, they've been sealed. So.
Yeah, so we're going to try to seal it as best as possible to keep it as going as possible. And if it doesn't work, we'll replace it later with modeling clay, which...
something is a little more water, keeps its density.
God, it's getting hard to hold.
Yeah, no.
It's actually much heavier.
Yeah.
Yay, it won't move. Okay, so here we have the gate. I actually removed the square centerpiece. I bought octagonal gate, which is the gate you should be using. There are people who would say differently, but if you want to do this right, you should do it with a square gate. Now, taking it out is not easy. You actually have to push it and twist. I've already done that. I don't want to go on camera and struggle. And to show how it works when you put it in, I'll put it there. And then after I push it, okay, so we've got it in. It's locked in place. It's gonna require some finger strength there, and it locks in place. You only have to do this once, and this will go onto the stick after.
So, what you're gonna do, pins are going to go towards the top of the stick, like where the memory card at, facing outwards to your left. If you're working that way, if you're working the other way, it'll probably be your right. Easy thing you'll be able to tell is, like, if you try and put it on this way, it won't go in.
Micro switches have to be facing outward.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. You can position it anyway with the pins going anywhere, but it's just the green plate actually has to be face down, because then it slides right down into place. Okay, so next is the gate, which this doesn't really matter. You're gonna have your pins sticking out down towards the bottom, and then this is just simply clipping them right down, and then that will hold your pins right in place, and your stick is installed.
So the next part we're going to do here is take the original switch that we have here with the cable. We're going to go ahead and cut off at the end. You want to, just for us at least, we're going to cut it off pretty close so we have a lot more cable to work with.
No, actually I'm going to cut it off half.
Wherever the hell Timmy decides he's going to want to do that, then he's going to go ahead and cut it. This end is going to go back into the port here for the micro switch. And the other end we're going to go ahead and solder, and we'll set that up here. The end that comes out of, and I hope I'm in frame here.
Yeah.
The end that comes out of the Sanwa micro switch is going to be spliced into this end, and we'll go over that and the cabling here in a second.
Alright everyone, at this point we're actually going to have to start doing a little bit of soldering. This actual part is kind of optional because if you wanted to, you could twist the wires together. We're going to get the stick going first with the Sanwa cable that came with it. We're actually going to provide a wiring diagram with this as a downloadable. You'll be able to use that to see what wires go to what.
You'll probably be seeing that on screen anyways about now.
Okay, so now we've soldered the wires together for the stick. Timmy used a tinning method, and you saw that in the recording. What we're going to do now is plug it into the stick itself to the PCB and test that the stick is working on the Dreamcast, and then next will be the buttons. Alright, so we've already tested the stick. Just turned on the Dreamcast real quick and moved it around, and it is working perfectly. Timmy's actually using the Play-Doh as a wiring harness, which is actually a really neat idea, I think, for now. Because we did leave it a little long, just for testing purposes, but...
well, testing, future wiring, parts,
possibly.
Yeah. Lots of reasons.
And next we're going to start
question my madness.
Wiring the buttons. And if that works, then it's complete.
If that works, Bobby owes me a game.
I'll get you the bat top so you can look at that.
Okay, so now we're actually going to go ahead and cut the buttons, cut the cables for the buttons. As you can see here, I'm having Timmy cut the cables. We're cutting all of them except any of the black ones and the silver or gray and purple one. Each of these will go to one of the buttons, and we're going to solder on these new leads that have quick disconnects on them just to make our lives a little bit easier. So we'll be back here in a second once he's tinning them up and soldering them together. So as you can see here, what we did with the ground that comes off of the start button, which is this black one here, along with the ground that's going to be for each of these buttons, we went ahead and spliced those down into the common ground, which is this gray connector here. So we have all of these connectors coming in here, and then all of the command that come off of this connector here are going to now be spliced onto their corresponding color, which have the quick disconnect and are going to go into each of the buttons. So we have the ground set up, now we're going to do the actual command buttons. So we'll be back.
Please keep in mind that we did a common ground because of limited resources. In a second setup, we would, in that case, buy the crimps separately so we could do this properly.
Or you could also buy a pre-made daisy chain They're about $3-4 on any of the sites that would sell this kind of stuff. And then you would run the daisy chain on each of these, and then simply attach this to the chain, and then go out to the gray cable.
Gray cable would be part of the daisy chain.
Right. So you would add this gray cable and this black cable to that daisy chain, and that would solve this issue in a nicer, cleaner method. But for now, we're working with what we have. So this is kind of what we have now.
Alright everyone, the wiring is complete. As we showed you before, the grounds are going to one ground, and then you have all the wires that are color coded to the buttons. Everything's in. We're going to close it up and give it a test and see how it goes. Okay, it is complete. There have been a couple mistakes here and there. We've had to deviate a bit. We're going to plug it in for the final test now, and she should be done.
Modded by Tim.
Yes. Thanks for watching. Alright, here we go.